Shiest is working all right. All right, cool. Yep. And I got the automatic volume thing going on. Okay, cool. We're good. Um, I'll go here. Coffee cup. I want people to see the coffee. I don't know, man. I'm trying to, a little bit produced here. See that part? My screen is hella dark. Maybe I should just brighten it. It's one way. Let me pull up my chair. Let's get to it. So, yep, just wanted to do this real quick with y'all. I hope it's not too loud. There's a lot of cars going by on the road. Turn off this music. At least turn it down. Oh, I don't even think y'all can hear it. Okay, cool. That's where I was with it. Let's see. What was I looking at here? The guys who made UTM.io. Something that I'm considering doing a review on is UTM.io. Um, that'll be coming soon. And let's talk about it. So, if you want a way to keep all of your UTM parameters clean in one space, use this guy. It kind of looks like this. Let me make sure that I can show you the screen. All right, more like this. You got your main URL, and it's a Chrome extension, so it's going to pull wherever I'm at. So if I'm here, if I'm on Facebook, it'll look like this. This one. It'll show Facebook. And you can use a template if you already have one. Let's say I set one up for, I think I might have done this ShineRanker, which is another tool that I use. You got social, Facebook. You've got dynamic here with the content. You can add some other parameters. You can shorten it, authenticate Bitly. You can add a custom branded joint. All right. They're saying that I don't have that permission. That's fine. And then I can, just a quick run through. I haven't used this, just started using it, started getting used to it really. And then you copy save here. And in theory, whenever you get to GA, so jump over to something like this. Let's see, BHT. You'd be able to see in the campaign reports, probably acquisition, traffic acquisition, I would guess. You should be able to see things like campaigns. I don't really have this stuff set up, but obviously you can set it up to look like this, local SEO, or it'll say Facebook, or maybe it'll say something else. This is from a directory, so it says directory, blah, 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 right? This isn't a high traffic site. BHT isn't like a huge high traffic site. I'm just selling services, right? But imagine a situation where you do have a ton of traffic, your e-commerce brand, you're selling whatever, your widget, then that might come in handy. I can't wait to grab a new e-com client and show you guys them as the example. It's kind of like shameless promotion as well as talking through the thing. Okay, anyways, so yeah, that looks something like that. Really useful. I want to watch this video related to the tool here, and then I can just Let's see if I can pop over to the StreamYard joint and share audio. 1 second. Dude, shout out to streamers and people who have figured out how to do this seamlessly and quickly and efficiently. As soon as I click play video, they jump me over to this page with the form fill. Why y'all do that? Why did y'all do that? I just want to watch the video. Damn. And they don't have like a YouTube channel or anything. Yeah, it's just not gonna give me this. Okay, well, we'll talk about it a little bit here. How do they work? And they go through talking about that here. I clicked on this earlier, but I did not read this yet. See if there's any visuals to go along with this or audio to go along with it. No, not really. No, that's annoying. See if I have anything with them on YouTube. So 2 minutes. All right, so I looked this up. There's a couple of different things I want to show you guys. I'm going to show you this review. I don't know this person, but you know, it is what it is. He's the only review there. That lets me know that I probably need to make a review soon. But let's do this
Hey
one.
guys, this is Pavel for MeasureSchool.com, and today we are going to talk about UTM parameters.
So Measure School has a really good training on UTM parameters. This is the one that kind of hit me to it and made me want to dive deeper into UTMs. I believe that you'll see once you listen to what he's got to say. I'm going to play it at 1.5 times speed so that we can get through it. You'll notice as you guys watch me live stream more and more that I usually speed up any video I'm watching. But yeah, here we go.
If you've ever been thinking if it's possible to tag and then followingly recognize the specific traffic you're sending to Google Analytics, then using UTM parameters will take place. UTM parameters are small text strings which we can append to final URL address, and then if it's used properly, Google Analytics tracking code can easily recognize it, and then we'll see the data in GA report. We will show in which GA dimensions we can see the data from UTM parameters, and then we will show how to properly create and test the final URL address including UTM parameters. So let's go to acquisition report, all traffic, and source medium. As said before, UTM parameters are used for tagging a traffic. So I guess it's not a surprise for you that all of the traffic dimensions we have in Google Analytics can be filled in from the data from UTM parameters. So here are the two most common of them, source and medium. Then there's a keyword, which has a different name in UTM tagging. It's called UTM term. And then there are two more, which is campaign, and then there's ad content. So let's have a look on the most two common ones, source and medium. What are typical values we should put into a source parameter? Mostly it's the domain or the search engine from which the traffic is coming. So mostly it's Google or partners or any domain or search engine from which we're sending the traffic to our domain. Then the medium is the way or the form of the ad or the property.
Time out, man. Time out. This is old. We got one from Julius. We got this joint. This one's a little older. Let's do both. So I'm gonna go this one and this one.
So you have created UTM
Sorry about that.
parameters for your incoming links that point to your website. This is really great. UTM parameters are really a must-have when it comes to source tracking, knowing where your traffic is coming from and identifying this correctly in GA4. Now, there are tons of tutorials out there on how to actually create UTM parameters, but none of them really show how to read the UTM parameters later on inside of your Google Analytics 4, and that's what I want to show you today. So to start us off, I'm here on our Google Merchandise store, where we can buy all kinds of Google products, and this will be the case that we are working on right now. They also have a great newsletter that you can sign up to, and the links inside of the newsletter are obviously tagged with UTM parameters. I'm not sure how Google is doing this internally, but we here at Measure School are using our UTM builder sheet, which our Measure Masters have access to as well, where you can create your landing page URL. You put that in here into the sheet, then you choose your UTM medium, your UTM source, your campaign, and UTM content, and even more of these parameters. You don't have to use them, but we have included also the new ones such as source platform, creative format, and the marketing tactic, which are new UTM parameters. In the end, the sheet will generate you your UTM URL, which you can then use inside of your newsletter, for example. And once a user clicks on this link in the newsletter and is directed back to the website, let's simulate this really quickly here, then the UTMs get read by Google Analytics 4 and stored correctly. So Google Analytics 4 knows now where the user has come from. Now, once you are inside of Google Analytics, how can you now see your UTM parameters and read them correctly? The first destination that you should probably know about is under the standard reports. You can go over to your traffic reports under acquisition, and then here we have traffic acquisition itself. And this will really show you your UTMs already, although they are here by default channel group. Channel groups are different from UTM parameters, so I'm going to switch over here to session source medium, and it will give me all my source mediums that have been used. Now, we should be able to also find our source medium, which is newsletter September 2022. Well, actually, we need to go through the right date here, so I'm going to go back to September. And then we can look through, and here we see newsletter September 2022 email. What about the other UTM parameters? Well, you could add them in and say the campaign name. I want to know about that one as well. So campaign name, and we have the session campaign. And after a second here, we should be able to see here, okay, here is our first campaign that we have entered as well into the sheet. And that is the campaign that we're actually looking for. But if we wanted to dig deeper now, then it gets really complicated in this kind of report, because we will need to add some filters in order to make this all work and find the right number. That's why I always recommend to go straight to the exploration reports right here. And we'll put something together that is custom. So let's go with a blank freeform report. And now you need to know what you're actually looking for and need to know what data you are putting together. First of all, let's give this all a name. So this is my UTM report. And let's add the right dimensions and metrics. In terms of metrics, what I'm interested right now is just to see how many sessions did this generate. So I'm going to put in my sessions as the metric. And then as the dimensions, I want to have all my UTM parameters. Naming is a little bit weird inside of GA4 at the moment, so we need to know the right dimensions. So you are always safe to put in session first, and then we have our session medium here, we have our session source here, we have our session source platform, this is also one, we have our UTM term, add content, which would be the content itself, and the campaign ID or the campaign name here as well. We could also take a session source medium, but as we are digging in, this is kind of my process of how I normally go through this. So I'm going to import this, and now I'm going to start building the report. First of all, as the value, I want to have my sessions, just so we can see some data coming in. And then we start with the biggest bucket, which is our session medium. And now I'm looking specifically for the email medium right here. So once the report has built, oops, I put this in the wrong space, so it's not column. We want to put this in our session medium here. So we get our first data of all our mediums that have been used. Now let me change over the reporting time frame again. So we're looking at September here. That's just great because I'm not able to see the button to save this actually. So let me just try this again. I got the button right, and it's loading. And so we get our UTM medium right here, but we're actually looking for the source as well, which would be newsletter September 2022. So let's add the source here as well. And here we get a lot of different mediums, but also our email September 2022. Now, what I can do is filter this data. Obviously, there's a filter column down here that you could use and enter this, but a far easier trick is to now just click on this one and include only this selection. So we'll be filtered exactly on our medium email and our session source being newsletter September 2022. So now we are filtered on this one, and we can actually get rid of these, because if we wanted to now add our campaign name, let's just do that. It might get a bit bigger here and not as readable. And we know that this information is actually already filtered. So we can just get rid of the session source and the medium itself. And voila, we're looking only at the session campaign, but filtered down to our email and newsletter source. And here we already get some great insights. So there was a birthday campaign that went out, and there was a version 1 of the newsletter and a version 2. And as we can,
this is like more digging into how to report once you have the UTM parameters. I'm most interested in just damn, this person go hard in their car. That's hilarious. I'm most interested in just setting it up so that we can pull the information in the GA4. The reporting mechanism of using Explorer reports and things like that, I mean, I've used them. I've been tasked to use them for certain clients and stuff. And they want that stuff. and that's fine. I'll do it. I don't. For me, I think Looker Studio is a better alternative if you're reporting. Aside from using like the standard reports in GA4, aside from any other reporting mechanism that Google has to offer, the Looker Studio, for me, seems to be the cleanest and easiest client-facing reporting system.
As we can see, the version 1 was clicked maybe, and we had much more traffic coming in. If we wanted to look at other metrics, you could add them obviously as well. For example, since this is an e-commerce store, transactions
Man,
would
I'm
make
about
sense.
to run out of
So let's
battery
put in our transactions as well.
on my laptop.
the
1
values.
second.
And
Or
here we go. We
my
also got more transactions on the first
overhead
version.
camera.
So we can already look at these two and compare them. Now there are more campaign UTMs here, which would be UTM content as well. Apparently there was a start shopping button and then also a birthday banner. So let's go in and actually add our content as well. I think that's this one, the add content. Oh, we need to add it here to the rows. And I'm going to just do this right here. And voila, now it makes it all a little bit bigger again. And we might want to filter on certain points here. So maybe let's just look at the start shopping campaign right here and include only this selection. So this is the start shopping button, and that many people have clicked it actually and then transacted. So this is kind of the winner here. I'm going to now look at my filters. So the filter has been applied. We are only looking at that specific ad content, and I can again get rid of my campaign name here. And then we're looking at the start shopping button. What if you wanted to compare, for example, this start shopping button with the version number 2 that was also in the sheet right here? So we have one for version number 1 and one for version number 2. You could obviously say, okay, I'm actually going to add an identifier. This would be my campaign name here. So we're going to add the campaign name again. And now we're going to get rid of one of the filters, which would be, I think right here. Yes, we want to make sure that this is not being used anymore. So let's go ahead. We can just exit out here. But we still see only the start shopping because that's in the actual filter. And now we are comparing. Unfortunately, we may need to make this smaller so we can see the version 1 against the version 2 button is performing in this way. And apparently this button has outperformed, and this version has outperformed this part of the newsletter. So really already great insights that you can get from this when working with your UTMs. If you have them correctly documented, you can go ahead and then dig into the data inside of Google Analytics 4's exploration section to see this one. What if you wanted to actually then use this data later on to maybe compare it against another shopping campaign or against another set of UTMs? Well, what you can do at any point is also right click here and then create a segment from the selection. It will take all of the different filters and apply it to a new segment that can be created and even made an audience out of this one if you wanted to, for example, send that over to Google Ads and retarget this one. So I'm going to put this in and say, okay, this is my birthday campaign and save this one. And now let's get rid of all of the different filters here. And again, maybe look at a completely different set of UTMs, medium and source. And then we could look at a certain CPC campaign here, for example. So let's go ahead and make this one into and include only one, get rid of our rows here and add our ad content and our campaign name info. All right, and I'm just gonna pick a random one here. We can make this one into a segment as well, and then save this. And now we can compare our two segments against each other, depending on what data you want to see here. But I'm just gonna go ahead and put in our session medium, for example, as the row. Let's get rid of the filters. And I'm going to add our two new segments that we have created in here side by side. So we can actually compare now, for example, the transactions of the birthday campaign to the total value of both campaigns together, or which one has performed better in certain areas. Now, you obviously this doesn't quite make sense with this source medium, but you could dig deeper and compare this data side by side between these two segments itself. So it's really, really flexible if you know how to work with the data and make that work. Obviously, there are many different other visualizations forms available if you want to see this over time or in a bar chart and so on. Just click on it, and then this will be generated by Google Analytics 4. A matter of putting everything together, knowing where the data is, and then slicing and dicing it so you can get to insights.
Okay, cool. Not really the type of implementation based thing I was kind of looking for, but let's see.
Google Analytics 4 can
I also have the Measure School course, and I can show you guys that. It's loaded up on the other screen. We'll get there if we get there.
automatically track where your website visitors are coming from. However, there are cases where it just cannot do that. For example, email marketing campaigns, social media campaigns, and so on. That's where UTM parameters become very useful because they bring back some transparency to your marketing.
I think I was talking to Mercer outside of IMP. Shout out to Mercer and Measurement Marketing.io. That's also in that master list. And also shout out to Amari. Amari's badass. He did I did some handgun instruction stuff with him, or he instructed me. Anyways, really what I want to do is be the voice of this industry of measurement marketing. There's really a lot of people who seem interested, but the thing is, there's a lot of different data sources. There's a lot of different courses. And I don't want to be a course creator. I've never wanted to do that. I just want to work on, client accounts and solve problems and then show people how I came up with that solution. But what I do mostly is I'll cross-reference all this stuff. So if I share this with you real quick, this has got all the courses and this is pinned in the comments. Go to the comment section, you'll see it. Chrome extensions that I use. I probably need to put a description. Might mess around and put YouTube videos here of me kind of walking through the use case for these because I have those now. Big shout out to Chance Reynolds. He's got me building these different tool related Chrome extension videos. Anyways, let me not get distracted. So I got that. I got a list for software, and then obviously I've got socials for BHT. But the main thing here is you can get access and grab some of the courses that I think are the best. And these are those in pretty much in order of how often I personally use them. It doesn't mean one's better than the other. It means I personally use them in this order. Measurement Marketing.io is the first course I ever bought. And they kind of got my feet wet, and then Measure School kind of led to me really taking it seriously. Analytics Mania is where I go. If I have a GTM question or a technical question, and then Better Than Data, for me at least, they have a whole Slack community and people are constantly in there blowing my mind. It feels like they are heads and shoulders above most marketers, I would say. Really, really smart guys over there, really good group of people. Shout out to JJ and Stockton over there. Anyways, my job here, and really the point of me doing this, is I want to introduce people to this world. And let me figure out which YouTube tab is this one. I was on this one.
In this video, I will explain what UTM parameters are and how to see their data in Google Analytics 4. Let me illustrate the benefit of UTM parameters in Google Analytics. First, I will go to Reports, then I will click Acquisition and Traffic Acquisition. Here I see the channel groupings of the biggest traffic sources that drive traffic to my website, and I can see how many sessions did I get, what is the engagement rate, and a bunch of other metrics, including the total revenue. Now I will switch to the session source medium, and I can see the data at a more granular level. I see that there's a lot of traffic coming from Google search and from other websites. But what if this business is also running email marketing campaigns, for example? If nothing additional is done, usually email traffic is attributed to the direct none because it's very difficult to get accurate traffic data coming from email inboxes. And that's where UTM parameters can be very useful because you can add them to links in your emails. And if visitors land on your website from your email marketing campaigns, then you will be able to know which campaigns perform better. In fact, I know that the business of this property is running some email marketing campaigns. So I will enter in the search field email, and we see that they're sending some newsletters to their subscribers. And if I move to the right, I will see which campaigns generated more revenue. In fact, I can even add a secondary dimension by.
So imagine if you had a situation where you're sending out a certain campaign only to a certain segment, right? You could tag it up with UTMs and then see exactly how it performed from when that person lands on your site from that email campaign to the point of them purchasing. If it's that same session, if it's a different session, you can really like track the user journey because you can use the conversion path chart. So that looks like, I think it's this one. Shit, it's been a while. Let me find it. Here, let me find it and then I'm gonna come back.
By clicking this plus icon and then selecting traffic source and entering campaign here, and then I select session campaign. And now I can see which particular campaigns performed better and which ones generated the most revenue. For example, here I see that most of the revenue from email marketing campaigns come from campaigns that are related to Pride. So this kind of session source and this kind of session campaign is possible because this particular company is using UTM parameters. UTMs are custom parameters that can be added to the URL. And then if a visitor lands on your website and those parameters are in the URL, then Google Analytics will know that the visitor came from that particular campaign, and things like revenue will be attributed to those campaigns. And this example.
This is all free. This is on YouTube. This is Analytics Mania's YouTube channel. It's available to you. You just have to go find it. Let me show you this real quick. So I had a little issue there because it's under advertising. You go to conversion paths, you can actually see everything and how many touch points it takes for them to convert. Obviously there's, I wonder if there's an option right here for revenue. I don't have revenue set up on BHT because we're not collecting revenue on the website or anything really anywhere other than through invoicing. But anyways, imagine I had an e-commerce store. I could see the revenue, and you can see 3 times they came from organic search. There's 4 times from organic and then 3 from referral, and then they converted. I got 20 conversions. That's how it went down. And then I can sort by touch point. So the ones that took 20 touch points, meaning like highest maintenance, would be at the top here, lowest maintenance here. So 8 conversions that only had this 1 touch point. These guys had 2 touch points from organic social, and then they converted, right? And then so on and so forth. But imagine a situation where if it was more sophisticated, we got Google ads, we got organic social, we got referral, we got email, all in one column, going one into the next. That would be really dope. And it's possible to see it that way. In some instances, this is the only example I have is row number 10, where there's multiple touches as far as traffic sources go before there's a conversion. Is excessive. 13 people, 13 times on social, then they saw me on organic search 4 times, then they got referred 3 times, and then they converted. That's pretty funny. But yeah, this stuff is available, but it's even more extreme and useful in a case where you have your UTM parameters touching everything. And this is default channel grouping right now. You can manipulate that. All right, I'm done talking.
UTM source and UTM campaign. And if the visitor lands on the website by clicking this particular link, then with example, we have 3 UTM parameters: UTM_medium, UTM source, and UTM campaign. And if the visitor lands on the website by clicking this particular link, then we will know that the visitor came from the email campaign, which was an email newsletter, and the campaign was related to Black Friday, Cyber Monday. UTM parameters are useful not only in email marketing. It can also apply to social media posts. If, for example, you're running some campaigns, you could have UTM medium social, UTM source could be Facebook, and UTM could be that very same Black Friday, Cyber Monday. And when you later look at that data in Google Analytics, you will know whether email marketing or social media was working better for the Black Friday campaign. Medium source and campaign are not the only UTM parameters that are supported by Google Analytics 4. Let's take a look at some examples. First of all, we will start with those 3 classic parameters, but then we will take a look at some others as well. So UTM medium is the most generic top-level UTM parameter. That does not have a lot of unique values, but basically these are just large buckets of your traffic types. For example, organic means some search engines, then it might be social, video, email marketing, then affiliate, it might be paid advertising, which is known as CPC, and so on. Then UTM source is a bit more specific name for the traffic source. For example, it might be Google, Bing, might be the URL of the website, might be, for example, just the word newsletter. So for example, here, if we combine medium and source, you will be able to see that people are coming from Google organic search, but they also might be coming from Google paid advertising, which is Google CPC. Then you might also want to send the name of the campaign. So it might be something like Black Friday 2022, or just the name Christmas sale, or maybe something else. So the more UTM parameters you add.
Don't sleep on UTM parameters and their usefulness, not only in keeping things extremely organized, but also, like I said earlier, there are tools like this guy. I don't know if you can see my Chrome extension right now, but the UTM.io Chrome extension is dope and you can use it. The software is relatively expensive. I'm going to test run it and leave a review soon.
You add to your links, the more granular your analysis might be. Another supported UTM parameter is UTM term. And here you can enter, for example, the keyword that you're targeting. For example, it might be women clothing. Then if you're testing different text for your ads, then UTM content might also be useful. For example, one ad might say that you're offering a 20% discount off all products on the website. And the other one might be something like get free shipping. And then you can see which ads perform better in your marketing. So these 5 UTM parameters are the classic ones, but there are actually even more that Google Analytics 4 supports. And you can find them in the official documentation. I will post a link to it below the video. Here you will find not only UTM source or medium, but you will also find things like UTM source platform, UTM creative format, and so on. So feel free to take a look at this documentation to learn more. If you're wondering how to add UTM parameters to your marketing, it's fairly easy. Basically, you can just take the URL of the page where you want your visitors to land, and then you can add those parameters. First, you start with the question mark, and then you enter the actual parameters and their values, such as UTM medium, which might be something like email if you're working with the email marketing campaign, and then UTM source might be a more descriptive name. What kind of email is it? It might be newsletter. It might be the name of your email marketing platform. It might be the name of another email. For example, it might be something like welcome email or something else. In this case, I will stick with the newsletter, then UTM campaign, and here you can enter the name of your campaign. For example, if you're working with the Christmas sale, then it might be something like Christmas 2022 or something like that. You don't have to include all the UTM parameters, but just make sure that you have UTM medium and UTM source. And once you have,
So keep in mind that he's doing this live demonstration, but you need to add these UTM parameters to the links that are inside of your newsletter, that are inside of whatever email you're sending out, especially a welcome email or a sequence where you're having people opt in and you're wanting to track where they came from. So it's just useful. It's useful to know when someone's a returning visitor and why they're returning, and what they're likely to be interested in based on the email that they received. The reason they're receiving an email, again, is because you put them into that sequence. So your responsibility is really creating sequences that are specific to the actions and the interactions on the website. And you can start there from the very get-go, you know, depending on where they submit the form, can inform where we tag the newsletter links that they're going to then receive. So if they're on the contact page, we know that they, got on the newsletter because they wanted to actually get in contact with somebody and talk to them. If they got there from a product page, we can send them a newsletter that mentions that product, but also the UTM parameters with the links that are in that newsletter can all be related to that product as well.
once you have prepared the link, you should copy the entire link and then include it in your email marketing campaign. So when the visitor clicks the link, that visitor then is redirected to your site, and those parameters should be visible in the URL when the visitor actually lands on the website. Then Google Analytics will load, it will check the URL, and will automatically store that data in your Google Analytics 4 property. To make things a bit easier, you can use Google's campaign URL builder, where you have to enter the URL and UTM parameters, and then it will generate the actual URL. This builder also requires the UTM campaign, but based on what I've seen, it looks like it's enough to have at least source and medium, but it will not hurt you if you also include the campaign name. So let's try that. I will copy the URL where I want my visitors to land, and then I can enter campaign source. For example, newsletter, campaign medium is email, and campaign name is Christmas 2022. You can also enter other parameters if you want, and then this is the generated URL that you can copy and then include it in your, for example, email marketing campaign. Most email marketing platforms actually add UTM parameters manually, but if you're working with the one that does not do that, then you might use this builder and get the URLs and use them in your email marketing campaigns. But as I have said, you don't have to limit yourself just to email marketing. This also applies to other situations such as affiliate marketing, social media, and so on. Also, if you plan to work a lot with UTM parameters, it might make sense for you to use some tools that help you easier manage UTM parameters and even remember the previous URLs you have generated. That way, you will make sure that you're following consistent naming convention. So that was an explanation of what UTM parameters are. And now let's take a look, where can you find that data in Google Analytics 4? Because let's say that we have already generated the links and the visitors have landed on our website with those parameters in the URL. Now we want to see those sources, mediums, campaigns, and so on. So we can do that by going to Google Analytics, Reports, then Acquisition, Traffic Acquisition, and then in the primary dimension column, switch to things such as session source, session medium, session campaign, and so on. So all of these are related to UTM parameters. Well, not necessarily to only UTM parameters, because if the visitor lands from the Google search, that traffic will still be included in Google Organic session source medium. But this report will also include the data of your UTM parameters. So here I could click on session source medium, and then in this list, among various traffic sources, I would also be able to see my own campaigns. This is a test demo property, so I don't think that I have any actual campaign data. I mean, like UTM campaign. But if you want to see that in your property, and if you have been already sending that data for a while, then you can switch to session campaign here. Or if you want to keep session source medium, but you also want to see the campaign, then you should click plus, then traffic source, and then keep looking for campaign, and then select session campaign. And the same would apply to dimensions such as session manual term, session manual add content, session source platform, and so on. Here's a quick cheat sheet on what are the exact dimension names of UTM parameters in Google Analytics 4. So UTM medium will be available as session medium or first user medium. If you want to know the difference between session dimensions and first user dimensions, then take a look at my another tutorial about acquisition reports, and I will post a link to it below the video. UTM source will be available as session source or first user source. UTM campaign, well, obviously you guessed it, it will be session campaign or first user campaign. Then UTM term will be available as session manual term or first user manual term. and UTM content will be available as session manual add content and first user manual add content. There's also a dimension called UTM ID, so it will be available as session campaign ID and first user campaign ID. And as I've said, there are several other supported UTM parameters, and you will easily be able to find their dimension names in Google Analytics 4. Because, for example, UTM source platform will be available as session source platform or first user source platform. You can also use those dimensions in custom reports, and those are available in explorations. So click explore, then select blank, and then you can include dimensions such as session source medium and session campaign. Click import, and then in metrics you can use something like sessions, then conversion rate also might be useful, which is session conversion rate, and then click import. Then drag those two dimensions to the rows and drag metrics to values section. And again, since this is a demo property, I don't have much data, but let's select maybe a longer time period, such as quarter to date, for example, apply. And we have slightly larger numbers, but still not enough. So I will expand the time frame even more. Maybe that will show us some data. And yeah, we have some data here. But since I haven't sent any UTM campaign or any other UTM parameters, I don't have real life data to show you, but you will be able to see your UTM source or UTM medium or UTM campaign and other parameters in this kind of report. Now you know what UTM parameters are and how to see them in Google Analytics 4 reports.
That's awesome. So basically, it's natively supported. So all you got to do is set up the UTM part of it, and it's going to be available immediately in your reporting. It doesn't require you to manipulate anything with custom dimension. Bro, I'm sorry. Holy crap. That was ridiculous. It doesn't require you to do anything with custom dimensions, custom metrics. You don't have to use any of your limited bandwidth around that. You can still make an Explorer report.
If you want to learn more about them, including the best naming convention, then take a look at my Google Analytics 4 course. I will post a link to it below the video. If you found this video useful, hit the thumbs up button below the video. That will help me understand better what videos do you like and what should I create in the future. Also, if you want to learn more about Google Tag Manager or Google Analytics 4, then consider subscribing to this channel. My name is Julius, this is Analytics Mania, and I'll see you in the next video.
Awesome. I love it. All right. Now, hopefully, you guys kind of get a glimpse and an understanding as to why that's one of my favorite channels.
For the understanding of our course on source tracking with UTM parameters, I want to congratulate you for.
So, I don't know. This is my learning style. This is how I like to get down. Is I like to. Man, it's getting hot out here. Let me turn this fan on. Oh man. Personally, I like to cross-reference. So I'll go learn from Julian, Julius. Go check out the Better Than Data guys. Their course looks like this. Well, I'll share it in a little bit, but assuming that I have a project like this and I want to get it started, I like to go ahead of time. So you guys are watching me in real time, kind of getting into UTMs. And then I have in ClickUp, my whole team will be able to see that, and we'll have kind of a protocol with how we, implement things. So it's nice and neat. I can't really show you that part yet. I'm not really comfortable showing that, but I can show you guys the learning process and what it looks like to kind of piece it together, and then, okay, cool, now I can implement. So my big thing now is to share the secrets and sell the implementation. Hormozi quote. So, yep, I'm using it. Let me turn this fan on. Here's
Thank you for making this decision to start this course. UTM parameters are such a basic but essential topic for the understanding of Google Analytics and Google Analytics 4 for that matter. I had a blast putting this together and really revisiting a lot of the basic concepts as well. So what is our goal for this course? Well, really to understand, create, and use UTM parameters correctly in our toolset of measurement, and it is an essential one for every marketer out there. Then our outcome should be that we are confident in using UTM parameters, knowing what they actually are, creating and maybe spotting mistakes, and then also using them on scale with many different marketing campaigns. So as always, we got lots to cover, so let's dive in.
Yay. All right.
All right, in this first lesson, we're going to talk about what UTM parameters actually are and how they can be useful in your marketing. For that, let's go over to a little demo here. I'm on a YouTube video of mine. With the lovely Sophia, and we have some links in the description right here. And if we click on one of these links that lead to our website, for example, our Measure Master page, then we get to measureschool.com. And as you can see, up in the URL, we can find something about UTM source, UTM medium right here. And short explanation of UTM parameters. These are UTM parameters. So you can find them in landing page URLs. That's where you usually would find them. And they are coded in a certain way, which we will take a look at in a little while here. Another example would be if you get an email or email newsletter, for example, and there's a link to our website, again, where we have Google Analytics installed. We also find UTM parameters sometimes attached to the URL. Depending on which platform you're coming from, you might find them. Sometimes they are not there at all. Now, the question you might be asking, why are they here? What are they used for? Well, these UTM parameters actually transfer over a piece of information to Google Analytics. And this piece of information is encoded inside of this little part of the URL, which is called also a query string. This information is specifically helpful when you want to know where the user came from. So when you want to explicitly tell Google Analytics, this user came from a certain campaign or from a certain website. So in our case, if you look at this, we have information here about the source, which is newsletter, the medium, which is email, and the campaign, which is summer 15. Once you have the tag to your URL and Google Analytics is sending data over to the server, you should be able to find that information again inside of Google Analytics. So let's go over to Google Analytics right here, and we can look at this information by going into our reports. And here we'll look under acquisition. And then we can look at the traffic acquisition session report. Once the data is loaded up, we can change over here from session default channel group to session source medium. And here you will actually see the UTM parameters that were used in the URL. So when we have, for example, video in YouTube, that would show us that the source would be video and the medium was youtube.com. That was encoded into the UTM parameter at that time. Here we have email sequence as the source and the medium email. Now with that information, every time a user comes over with a UTM string, they will be put into one of these buckets. And we have obviously more information on this part of the user because we know how many of these people came over, but also how long they stayed, or things like the conversions that they accumulated and even how much money they have made us. So really information that you would need at the beginning of the session in order to transfer it over to your conversion as well. And that way, you know how effective a given UTM parameter was, or a campaign was, or a source is. So just to recap, UTM parameters are simply this little part at the end of the URL. You can utilize them to encode information in them about the campaign. And then inside of Google Analytics, you can read how many people came from this specific campaign, and then also if they're converted and how much money you have made with them if everything is set up correctly. In the next lesson, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into how Google Analytics actually finds out where your user came from.
It's freaking huge, man. I don't think people realize how important that is and how dope that is. But there's no more blind spots if you set up, if every single link, every single traffic source is identified and you're using, you know, things like UTM parameters, but, you know, there's also more to it, obviously. But UTM parameters really does that opens up a huge blind spot, so you can at least understand where people originated. And once you understand where they originated, you can kind of piece together the session in most instances.
So far, we have learned that UTM parameters are really helpful to identify where your traffic came from and answer the question inside of Google Analytics for where did this user, where did the sessions, where did this traffic actually come from. Now, there is more to the story because source tracking in GA4 is not only about UTMs, it's actually a different web of other decisions that Google Analytics makes in the background. And these decisions are really how source tracking works. First of all, Google Analytics looks for something called the GCLID on a URL. If the GCL ID is present, it will identify it as Google Ads or one of the other Google properties that can send traffic to your website. If it doesn't find that, it will look for UTMs. Again, UTMs are something that you can explicitly tell Google Analytics where your traffic came from. If that doesn't exist, Google will look for the referrer, which we'll take a look at in a second. But if you cannot find a referrer itself, then it will put it into the direct none row. That is an infamous row that you sometimes see inside of Google Analytics 4. So let's explore this a little bit and start with direct none. First of all, let's go here to our Google Analytics 4 property. And we already saw direct none right here. What does direct none mean? Some people think that it means that the user went directly to the website, which is partially true, but mainly it's dead traffic or dark traffic that you don't know where it came from because Google Analytics couldn't identify it automatically. Some sources Google is able to identify directly. So let's just try this out here. I'm going to go over to measureschool.com. Once the website loads, the Google Analytics code should be deployed, and we should actually be able to see some traffic here in real time as well. So here we go, and we have our different sources right here, and we have direct, and there's one of us, which I just entered the website, is indirect. But we have all of these other sources here as well. So where did the user come from? How is this actually created? Well, Google Analytics can automatically identify the user when he comes to the website. For example, if we are here on a blog post where somebody has linked to us, they have used a link here, and if you click on that link, we also go to measureschool.com. But what you maybe observe here right now is that there's no UTM parameters on the URL itself. So they haven't used any UTM parameters. How would Google Analytics know where the user just come from? Well, they will utilize something called the referrer. And that's a parameter, that's some information that gets sent in the HTTP header. So you can't really see it, but with a little trick here, you can actually see what the referrer was by opening up your developer tools. So I'm going to do this here. You could also click here the three dots and then more tools and click on your developer tools. And now I want you to go over to the console right here. And here you can type in document.referrer. And here we go. This is the referrer that got transferred over to our website. And it says web.utm.io. That's the website that we just came from. By the way, this is also how Google can identify what was the previous page path when you navigate onto the next website, for example. The thing is, this thing doesn't always work. Depending on HTTPS, depending on certain parameters, your website might not send the correct referrer in the HTTP header, and therefore it will not be available to Google Analytics. Where might that be the case? Well, think of it. If you have an email that goes out, if you don't use UTM parameters, then Google might not know where the user came from because he might not even come from a website itself. So I could open up this exact email in Outlook, for example, which is not a website, and there would be no HTTP referrer used. Or let's say if a user clicks on a link in your Zoom meeting, for example, which is another software, there might not be any information about the HTTP referrer in that request. And that's when you would need to definitely use UTM parameters, which kind of also explains if you have a lot of direct traffic. Maybe you're not using UTM parameters just yet, and there's a lot of unidentified traffic. Let's go back here to UTM. Right here, direct none is quite high, and we might need to look at the sources. Where did the user come from, and where was the user not identified, and therefore use UTM parameters on these sources. But I promised you earlier that there's something else. There's UTMs that we use, and then there's GCL ID. So what is GCL ID about? Well, if you go over to simply Google and put in something like insurance, we'll get an ad. And I'm sorry if I'm clicking on this one and discuss money right now, but we go to this website and we can see quite clearly up here, there's a GCL ID attached to this URL. And Google Analytics at least, will now know, okay, this user just came from a Google ad. This is a parameter that gets automatically, if you create Google ads and you use auto tagging, gets attached to the URL. And this actually identifies which ad the user has clicked on. So Google in the end will know, okay, we give the ad credit to this particular ad from this particular user. And this is what the ad tracking is all about. So Google kind of gives priority to this GCL ID. By the way, if you click on a Facebook ad or a Facebook social post, you sometimes see FB CL ID, which is the Facebook click ID, but that doesn't get recognized by Google Analytics automatically. So you would still need to use UTMs if you wanted to track this data. So I hope this demystifies a little bit how Google Analytics actually figures out where does your traffic come from. At first, always look, is there a GCL ID inside of the URL? If yes, we'll put it into the Google Ads bucket. Second, are there UTM parameters on the URL? If yes, we'll use the UTM parameters because the user has told it explicitly where to put this traffic. If there's no UTM parameters, it will utilize the referrer information, which we have here. And if there's no referrer information, well, we'll simply put it into this row, the direct none row. And this is really what you want to avoid with UTMs as well. You want to tag as much traffic as possible so you always know where did the user actually come from. So I hope this makes it clear how source tracking actually works in GA4. And in the next lesson, we're going to take a look at how you can actually construct UTM parameters.
Okay. Guys, I think that's going to be enough for today. I'm about to experiment with this a little bit. I was looking at utm.io while we were playing around. I actually have an account there and a free account actually. And I highly encourage you guys to do the same. It's an opportunity to, well, wait until I give you my affiliate link, actually. That's crazy to me that the affiliate link isn't readily available. But yeah, so it looks something like this. You can play around here. You can create links. You can do that here. HTTPS, this, and then I could do the YouTube Shorts template, which isn't really anything right now. And then I can't really add anything yet. Wonder why that is. Clear. Yo, why is that doing that? Hold on. Yep, I'm going to have to spend some time learning how to use this thing. But in theory, it's going to directly correlate with what I just learned from Measure School and Julius. So I'm going to dig into that, and then I'll make a live stream about that a little bit later. But let me watch some tutorials and get some knowledge under my belt regarding how to use this tool so I can come back and not look crazy. I'm trying to show you guys this stuff. Anywho's, yep, that's what we got. So thanks for watching. Talk to you guys soon. Time for breakfast.